Alright, welcome back to Shifting Gears. Today we've got a 97 Honda Accord that the customer states that she's hearing some metallic type noise when turning. Feels bumpy going down the road and stuff. So we're actually getting ready to take it for a drive and see exactly what's going on. You can hear you got some knocking noise, especially on a turn. Get it also off and on while driving straight or during a mild turn. But anytime you do a sharp turn, you can really hear it clanking. Just like that, and we'll get it going real good now. You notice it's kind of going like the wheels turning. The faster the wheels turn, the more you're going to hear the knock. But that's what's going on with it. So we'll get it back, get it up in the air, and show you what's going on. Okay, now we got it up. We got the tires and stuff off of it. Everything out of the way so we can do the repair. We can actually see what's going on here. If you take a look up inside here, you'll see that there's actually a piece of the axle that's missing, completely gone. You look right here is the dimples where the little balls should be at. This one right here is completely missing. You can see the broken edge there. There's supposed to be a ring going all the way around to here. That's completely gone. Hence your noise while we're driving. So without further ado, let's see about getting this thing fixed. Alright, now keep in mind this is a Honda Accord, but most vehicles are pretty much the same setup, very similar to this. So what you see us doing on here is going to be quite similar to any other vehicle that you need to put an axle on. Main differences are going to be on a Honda, we're getting ready to pull this bolt to loosen the strut so we can work the axle out around it. And then the ball joint here, this one has one nut underneath. Some vehicles will have like two nuts and a bolt, or they'll have a nut up between the axle and the spindle here that you have to loosen to take out. But all in all, like I said, every one of them is pretty well quite similar. So while we got it up in the air, we're going to go ahead and pull the ball joint, pop it loose, and pop the strut loose. Alright, first things first, let's get this cotter pin out of the way. Some of these are weak enough you can do them by hand. Some of them it's easier to use a tool. Just get a pair of side cutters, just clamp down on it a little bit and twist, and it'll pop right out. Oh, that already. Most of the time you gotta smack them with a hammer to bust them loose. This one already come right out. Usually they're not that easy. You just smack it with a hammer right here, and you'll see the ball joint kind of separate from it. Once it does that, you can lift it up out of the ball joint. Now a little tip on getting something like this out, put a wrench back behind the head and give it a spin while pushing with the wrench. Quick, easy way to do that. Alright, now we'll bring it down and get the axle loose. Alright, one thing I forgot to mention a few minutes ago, this being a Honda, it would be different sizes for other vehicles of course, but the ball joint and the through bolt for the lower part of the strut mount, they're all 17 millimeters. Next we're going to take a 36 millimeter and pull the axle nut. Give it a little push, make sure it's good and loose, which it is. So we're good to go there. Otherwise, you could use like an air hammer right in the middle and just hit it while pushing on it. Make sure it works its way through. we're gonna just put a strap on here to hold the whole assembly out of the way. Don't forget, before you tighten the strap, work that axle out of the housing, or out of the spindle. Pull her out of the way. Now it's time to go back up for a minute. Alright, now we're going to go ahead and pop the axle out of the transmission. Keep in mind you want to put a drain pan underneath it, because odds are you're going to lose some transmission fluid. So be prepared. Make sure you're not directly underneath it and getting covered. Just stick the axle so it's back behind the lip, or the pry bar, so it's back behind the lip on the axle there, and just pop her out. Make sure she comes all the way out. Now, this one might do it. Let's see. Yeah, we didn't even have to pop the strut on this one. On most of them, where it's got the strut mount on the lower part like that, the axle will not fit through. That's why we went ahead and just pulled the boat on out. Yeah, we're going fishing. That's why we went ahead and pulled the bolt on out, so that we're prepared and can go ahead and slide it out. So as you can see, we're good to go. Alright, if you take a look at the end of the axle, there's a little ring right there that kind of helps hold it in place, a little snap ring. We're going to take a little bit of grease, put it around that, just to help slide it in, because sometimes they can be a booger to get in. At that part now, I'm also going to put some anti-seize on the outer splines to help keep them from hanging up in that spindle. Doesn't have to be a lot, just put a little coating on it. Of course, be careful when you're handling this now. That anti-seize will get all over you, and before you realize it, you look like the Tin Man. Slide this up in there. Slide the splines into the transmission. Make sure you get decent engagement, and then just kind of ease it out, push in. You'll get a pop, and make sure you hit it a couple more times so you get a good solid sound, and you're ready to start going back together. Come from the back side, slide your axle into the spindle there. It might help sometimes if you kind of roll it. Just try to spin that rotor so that the splines line up and it fall right into place. Now while you got it in this position, go ahead and slide her on in and start your nut. The reason you're doing that is so that while you're working on trying to get the ball joint and stuff lined back up, that axle doesn't pop out on you and you have to do it all over again. Now, we'll lift her up, get this ball joint put back where it should be. Go ahead and get the castle nut started back on it. We're going to do the same thing with your strut mount. Go ahead and get it in there. Might take a couple taps of a hammer to kind of get it in there, but not too bad usually. Go ahead and get that nut started. Get them tightened down. Before you do the final tightening, remember you gotta get a cotter pin back in here, so get it snugged up, and then watch it, make sure you get your hole lined up. Slide your cotter pin through, and don't forget to bend it around. That's all you should have to do on that one. Now I need to bring it back down. Everything else underneath is done. So I need to bring it back down, get the axle nut tight. Remember, don't just hit it with an impact to tighten it. So if you do, you put too much pressure on the bearing inside the spindle there, and you'll end up having to replace that bearing. So on these, they're a bit of a pain because the rotor comes off with the spindle and is pressed on. So you have to press it all back apart to be able to access the wheel bag. So make certain that you torque it down. The torque specs from 1990 all the way to 2002 is 181 foot-pounds. So, hold the spindle with the pry bar, run that in, and let's see. There we go. Now for the last step before you put the wheel on, you gotta knock the rim of the axle nut into the indention there on the axle. That acts like a lock, help keep that nut from backing off on it. I got a pry bar here that's designed to be hit with a hammer. So let's spin this around. It'll be a little bit easier. Stick it in there and knock it down into the groove. And that should help hold it, keep it from backing off and loosening on you. Now you're ready to put a wheel back on it. Take it for a spin, see how it does. Alright, we drove the Honda. The knocking noise is gone, everything seemed fine, so looks like it's good to go. Now keep in mind, sometimes that can affect your alignment. But, you know, if you take it off at the ball joint, usually it won't. But sometimes it can. So, you know, after repair like that, in some instances, you do have to have an alignment. But for now, looks like everything's good to go. Don't forget to like us on Facebook and follow us on YouTube. And we'll see you next time. Thank you very much.
Alright.
Are we good?
Yep.
No, we're damn good. Just kidding. Alright, so now we got it up in the air. We got the wheels and everything off
Actually,
of it.
hang on a second. I forgot. This is going to be a fade in, so give me a couple of seconds before you start.
Now, most of the tools. I'm a tool. There we go.
Yeah, that's perfect right there. Want to bring it down again?
Nope. Because if I do, I'm just taking it right back up. Unfortunately, I speak from experience.